consistent every single week. Well, we're going to continue to rock this subject until we get the appropriate traction. I'm joined here again by one of my closest friends. He's the ex-senior vice president of Pepsi Cola, Mr. Robert Mailer. We're talking about it's time to stop child trafficking, Robert. Like, who's got their back? I said, who's got the kids' back? What do you think about that, Robert?
Well, I've said this before. Years and years and years ago, when I owned an advertising agency in South Florida, a woman came down to Sanibel Island. She was probably vacationing, but she came to the Sanibel Captiva Island Chamber of Commerce and spoke about human trafficking and child trafficking. And I've got to say, I was completely ignorant to the fact, had no idea, was shocked beyond belief, just shocked. But again, I was listening to a woman. She's coming from the D.C. area. I was like, okay, what could I do, and what is she doing? She's going around and talking about it, and she's trying to put a spotlight on it. But then when we just got involved, because of my girlfriend Karen Butler, we got involved because she's involved with people who are actually not just talking about it; they're doing something about it. So now you got something that's $250 billion in a business that is operating in the shadows. And we all talked about it. We said, hey, we need to help to shine a spotlight on this. We need to do what we can, because the people that we're working with, they actually go out and do quote unquote missions. They actually
Boots on
go
the ground.
out and do and find the perpetrators or save the kids. And I'm telling you, there's no better way to stop it than that. People got to pay. They have to pay the price, and kids need to be rescued and rehabbed.
What I'm looking at, Robert, as I get more and more involved with getting this message spread, I'm looking at 3, say no more than 6 months from now, to where we get some feedback of one child saved, two children saved. When that first story that comes back and says, hey, because of what you did, because of the exposure, because of the people that chipped in, they contributed, and they wanted to make a difference. I was my child got saved, or somebody comes back and tells us something like that. That's what I'm envisioning, right? How you think about that? And again, people can go over to jkids.com on the screen there.
Yeah, as we've spoken to both Craig Sawyer, who's the head of Veterans for Child Rescue, and Forrest Seeley, who's his business partner in it. And Craig, and you'll get the chance to hear from him in just a second. We're going to pop a quick video. But he was a former Navy SEAL, and when I talk about he was a protector, he was a protector. He was a protector of us, let alone. And now he's become a protector of the kids. So when they run these missions, they go out and they will pinpoint either going and finding perpetrators, or they will go to actually rescue kids. And it costs about $20,000 a mission. So like you're talking about, Jay, to be able to talk about the fact that 6 months from now, we know that we were responsible for being able to add one mission, just one mission. Because,
right.
Yeah, I mean, at $20,000 a pop, how many of them do you think that they're doing? If they had more money, they could do more. If they had more money, they could get more people doing them. But right now, we're just starting to put a little shine on this, just a little bit of light. And that's why we are going to spend every week talking about this, getting more people aware. And there's anything that you can do that's going to help to impact it. Because it's a simple thing. If it was $1 a day, think about it, $1 a day. You probably waste more than that at Starbucks, but regardless. But $1 a day, that's $30 a month. And if we ended up in 6 months that we had 1,000 people just giving $1 a day, that's $30,000 a month. That's a mission and a half. Okay, that ends up being 8 missions in the year that we've added. We're saving kids, and when you get the perpetrators, the bad actors, when you get them, you're saving lots of kids, because these guys do it over and over again.
And you know what I loved about what Craig and his team talked about? We're going to let you hear from him real quick. He's a former Navy SEAL, and you can just tell he's got that it factor of toughness. That's a tough dude. But he said that they go and they get the local law enforcement, because the governments won't put no money really into it at all. So, but the police officers, the private investigators, SWAT team, those guys in their after hours, they will come and say, we'll work with you, but they got to be paid.
Yep.
So if we can get certified legal, like law enforcement involved, and all we got to do is compensate them, and they're already fully trained. And what I love about it, he says they get the okay from the police departments. Robert, maybe hit on that just a little bit, how important that is to get professionals involved.
Yeah. Well, they definitely let everybody know that they're coming in. They have complete transparency in their activities. But as Craig has said, sometimes they work with them and sometimes they don't, because it depends on whether the authorities want to work with them. But of course, they're not going to stop them, because that would not look very good in the public eye. So fortunately, many times they do get to work in concert with the local authorities. But the local authorities are always aware of what they are doing. They just may not choose to be involved, and that's a whole nother conversation that we could have for hours. Why is it that our government is putting this under the rug? Why is it that that people that are supposedly protecting and serving, and it's not the people on the street. Trust me, I don't believe it's the people on the street, but the authorities, the authoritativeness going up in those organizations. I'm not making a statement one way, but I just find it odd that, as we know, both Craig and Forrest have talked to them about what they do, that they have to say that sometimes they can't work with local authorities because the local authorities really aren't behind what they're doing. That's disturbing to me.
But they do, the one they do go in, they've got those local authorities. Either they're working with them or they got the go ahead. Say shout out to Katie Tillman, Nafis Spence, Ashley Spence. Great to see some of my great brothers and sisters and friends up in here. We're talking about an important subject. Over in Egypt. Look at that. Who we got in here? Is that our girl?
It is our girl.
We got representation all the way in Egypt.
Cairo, Egypt.
Cairo, Egypt, man. I love it. As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing some bigger things with our sis over there. But here's the bottom line. We really, really are encouraging you to just take a deeper look at this, especially like if you plan on having kids or if you've got kids. You got to watch. You can't just be like lazy when you go out and about, because this is a $100 billion. So we're talking about $250 billion a year. Love you too, sis. Lower your back. Now look, I'm gonna show you a quick video. Miss you too, sis. I'm gonna show y'all just a quick video. It's about 30 seconds, introducing you. Just get the feel of Craig Sawyer, which is he's the founder of Veterans for Child Rescue. Y'all just tell me what you think. Just kind of get the feel for his mentality. Here it goes up on the screen now. Here we go. Let's play this, Robert.
And the first operation we ran was in Guilford, Connecticut.
Okay. Very
affluent area. We arrested federal agents and everybody else who came for the children. But on one ad for I think it was a 12 or 13-year-old child, it was a female, for sex. That one was a little bit more explicit. It was a babysitter offering up a girl if anyone wanted to come. It was 5,000 different predators. Now, this was a local ad. This wasn't a global ad, Jay. Not even a national ad. This was a local ad. It was on Backpage. Backpage has since been taken down.
Robert. Every time I hear that.
The first time I heard that, I was like, are you kidding me?
I'm stunned, bro.
I used to live in Fairfield, Connecticut, which is probably only 25, 30 minutes from Guilford, Connecticut. And it's a very conservative, very everybody cares about one another, and it's just unbelievable. They just ran that in a local free page, much like a Craigslist. Backpage is now gone, but Craigslist is kind of like it. Just ran that in there, and they had 5,000 people responding. And and I hate saying this, but I report the truth. Some of the people that responded were federal and law enforcement individuals.
Trying to get with a 12 or 13-year-old.
Alleged 12 or 13-year-old.
Yep. Come on. I mean, what are we talking about? What's up, kid?
Just so you folks know, what they do is they have a very young-looking enforcement agent. Somebody who's 22, 21, 23, but could somehow pass off as 13. that is playing that role, so that they, so that there's never a child at risk in this, never. But the point is, and another thing you got to think about, we're talking about rehab for the kids that are rescued. What do you think these people go through that are putting themselves out there to catch these people? I mean, they're seeing the worst of humanity, and I know that's just got to really mess up their heart and their soul. So that's why we feel so strongly that we need to do whatever we can, just a little bit. If you just do a little bit, we can get a lot done. We can start to put a hole in this, because if we can shine a spotlight on this so that it's no longer as lucrative. Now, why wouldn't it be as lucrative? Because people are getting caught. If people are getting caught, then it's not going to be so lucrative. If they're not able to get the kids, if there's more knowledge about how this is working, they won't be able to get the kids, so it won't be as lucrative. And if they go to jail, or maybe worse, sorry, it may not be as lucrative. So there may not be as many people saying, hey, this is easy street. This might be even easier than dealing drugs. So, that's why we are so behind this right now.
And we're passionate about it. And I've been passionate about the kids for decades, and being able to do some great things with orphanage schools and helping save a lot of kids. So when this came to my plate, I couldn't turn my head from it. Couldn't do it. I'm like, I want to support this. I'm going to get behind this, because I know we can make an impact with this. Now, here's some statistics. I like to get fresh statistics every week, just so we can hit this from multiple angles. Shout out to Kat Perez is on here. She said, I'm with you on this. Eamon over there in Cairo, Egypt. Moni Badwi, that's Eamon. Our sister over there, Ashley, Katie, Nafis, thank y'all for being here. Everybody that comes in that watches the replay, please drop a comment that you support what's going on here, that you believe that we should have our kids back, the ones that can't help themselves. In the scriptures, it says, the scriptures tell you, look after the orphans and the widows. That's the ones that they can't help themselves, or they're in a vulnerable situation. Now watch. Pay close attention to this, because now, Robert, this is crazy. In 2022, the child victims internationally, there was a 31% increase in detected child trafficking victims in 2022 compared to 2019.
Hey.
My sister Renee is in here. All right. So between 2019 and 2022, and they said that this rise is attributed to factors such as conflicts, climate-induced disasters, and the global crisis. So when there's these global crises that go on, like the pandemic or plandemic, whatever people call it, they say that that's when this child trafficking goes through the roof. They become more vulnerable, Robert. It said child trafficking occurs in all 50 U.S. states in the USA. So that's going to affect both U.S. citizens and foreign nationals. You bring your kids over here thinking you're getting to a better place, thinking you come into get the American dream, all of a sudden you get your child trafficked. Human trafficking hotline data. Robert, this is going to trip you out. In 2023, there's a thing called the National Human Trafficking Hotline. That has to be done now. Who would ever imagine you got to have such a thing? 9,619 cases involving 16,999 victims. Of these 16,999 victims, 5,572 were related to sex trafficking. 1,558 to labor trafficking, and 1,025 were involved in both. In the fiscal year 2022, 1,070 defendants were charged with human trafficking in the U.S. alone.
That's just who was charged.
Among these, 91% were male, 58% were white males. Don't think, don't try to count. This could be anybody.
Right.
And 95% were U.S. citizens. So that's 1,070 defendants that they caught. State comparisons. Between 2019 and 2023, Nevada had the highest rate of human trafficking per capita, with 58.48 victims per 100,000 residents. Georgia, good old, what do they call it, the Bible Belt, followed with 46.6 victims per 100,000 residents. So for every 100,000 people, 40, hey, you got 40, 50 of them getting trafficked, Robert. What you got to say about these stats, bro?
And again, that's just what's being reported. That's only being what's reported and what's known. There's still people looking for their kids that it's not proven what happened with them. So it is rampant. As I said, they operate in the shadows. They're dark actors. They're dark agents. We need to shine a light. If you go to jforkids.com, that you can see right there on the screen, if you go to that, you'll see a 26, 27-minute video where Jay's actually interviewing both Craig and Forrest Seeley, their partners in Veterans for Child Rescue. So you get a chance to hear a whole heck of a lot more of what they're doing. And you also have the chance, it's as simple as you want. You know, you can sign up to help on a daily basis, a monthly basis, however you want to set it up. You can change it at any time. It's completely secure. It's just, and the big key to this is all of that money is going to the organization that's working the missions. Okay, so there's not, you know, this is not a charitable organization, so to speak, that there are some out there where 70% of the money coming in is tied up in administrative costs for people. I mean, we're doing this for nothing, and you know, these guys, they're doing it. It's now their livelihood. They've given up everything else, and obviously out there taking big chances. But you know, it needs to be funded. It needs to be funded. So it's a very, very simple process. And anything you can do to help to support, it's just a little from a lot. You know, we get to a point where we add one mission, that is going to be a celebration.
I think, hey, that's our initial goal, fam. One mission. Then we get another one. It takes about $20,000 per mission, and we just need a whole bunch of people doing a little bit. If you go to jforkids.com, you scroll down under the video so you can see the full, right less than 30-minute video I did with the founder, the ex-Navy SEAL, Craig Sawyer. You can see the whole interview I did with him and his partner, Forrest. And underneath that video, it says click here to donate. When you go click here to donate, you'll be brought up to a screen that says donate an amount. So it's got some suggestions. Then it's got customs. That means you can put whatever you want. Then it says frequency. You want to do that one time, monthly, or yearly. Just click it in there, put it in. That's it. And then it says 70% of your donation is tax deductible and goes directly to the charity organization in real time. So they've got this setup where it just goes right into the hands of the people doing the work.
Yep.
So you give 100, you can write out, because that means they're telling you up front, 30% of that money is in the people doing all the work to make it all happen. And then that 70%, boom, Robert, usually it's the other way around. No, it's way less than that. Maybe getting pennies on the dollar. Yep. So we're doing something about that, fam. We're letting you know what's going on. I'm going to show this video one more time, then we're going to keep this short and sweet, just so y'all get an idea. And I want to have some final comments after we watch this short 30-second video, again, because it just hammers home what's going on. Now watch. Here we go. You ready? Pay attention.
And the first operation we ran was in Guilford, Connecticut.
Okay.
Very affluent area. We arrested federal agents and everybody else who came for the children. But on one ad for I think it was a 12 or 13-year-old child, it was a female, for sex. That one was a little bit more explicit. It was a babysitter offering up a girl if anyone wanted to come. It was 5,000 different predators. Now, this was a local ad. This wasn't a global ad,
Whoa.
Jay. Not even a national ad. This was a local ad. It was on Backpage. Backpage has since been taken down.
Robert, who would think what stood out to me, he said, that's a local ad.
Yeah.
Just there in that Connecticut area, 5,000 different people wanting to get with a 12 or 13-year-old girl, fam. What y'all going to do with that? Robert, parting comments just on what you heard, the overall mission. Let's wrap them up.
Well, obviously, you know, we are so incredibly supportive of this. The need is tremendous. The fact that, you know, small children are being abducted, and not just the fact they're being abducted from their families, then what happens after that? I mean, it's unconscionable. So that's why we are so behind it. We appreciate each and every one of you who's on here. And, we're going to do these lives every week. Let people know, send this out, share it. It'll be on Jay's Facebook. It's on my Facebook, my LinkedIn. So there's plenty of places to find this. Share it out. Let more people know. If we just shine more of a light, then there'll be more people. So then it's a little from a lot. We get a little from a lot. And we can get to that point of one mission where we can say we either caught a bunch of bad people, a little girl or a little boy.
That's deep. That's deep. Hey, shout out to everybody who joined us on the live. And then again, way more people. Right now, we're in the hundreds that are watching the replays. We're going to get into the thousands. So we just want to thank everybody that's watching this, that go, and we're watching the donations starting to tick up. So go to jforkids.com. Just do something if you feel compelled to do something. We love the fact that we've already got some international attention with our sister Eamon on here. Eamon over there in Cairo, Egypt. She joined us, but we got a lot of our good friends that has been supporting and getting the word out there. Robert, I just love everything that you stand for, what you're about. Again, that's the ex-senior vice president of Pepsi-Cola. Got a major background that he's willing to put those credentials on the table to help the kids. All of us got a lot of stuff we're doing in our life, all of us. But if we can carve out little moments like this and go, hey, I can do something about that. I can go over to jforkids.com and click on there and watch the video, get some of the information, and do a little bit about my part. So we appreciate y'all for joining, and we'll be back here next week. We'll have some special guests for next week, so stay tuned. Love y'all.